Welcome to Building Champions for Life, where we dive into the minds of extraordinary leaders, trailblazers, and champions from every corner of the world. I'm your host, Kirk Spahn, and together we're going to meet with visionaries who've conquered challenges, shattered ceilings, and redefined what's possible. From sports, tech, entertainment, to entrepreneurship, our guests have one thing in common. They are building legacies of greatness, and they're here to share their passion and their process with you. Welcome to the show. All righty. Today, I have the great pleasure of welcoming someone that I've known now for a couple years. I've seen her grow on and off the court and just been incredibly proud of the journey that she's had. You may have been reading about her lately. She is a young next-gen superstar, Eva Jovic from Los Angeles. When I met her, it was a couple years ago and a very different path it looked like in speaking to her family, who were dead set on getting her into just the best college she could get to. They were all about education, and tennis was something that she might be pretty decent at. She's really passionate about it, but we'll see what happens. But most important was get to college. Eva, I guess, where do we start? Let's go back to 3 years ago to now. It's been a bit of a wild journey. Let's go back to little Eva. We're going to take you through, when did you find your passion for tennis or, become passionate about the sport?
I first found my initial passion for tennis when I was around 12, 13. It was right when COVID had hit. So everything shut down and I pretty much was unable to do anything. So for a couple weeks, I was like a little couch potato, just watching some Netflix, chilling. And then I was like, you know what? I really want to do something productive now. So I started kind of working out and just thinking about tennis more because I was able to play even during this time. We would go out on the street, we would hit volleys, we would go to a public park and we would rally on the basketball court. So it was pretty much the only thing that I was able to do. And then it just kind of took off from there. And there's nothing I love more than winning. So once I came back from COVID break and I started winning in tennis, he was like, you know what? I don't want to go back to playing any other sports. I wanted to stay here.
That's amazing. So as you know, because you're an ICL student as well, you've heard of our 6 Ps. We really want to take everyone through the journey of having a passion and making it a purpose, and then finding the right process to follow. Who are the right people around you to guide you? And then the perseverance you have to show, because we know it's not a hockey stick always, although your rise from COVID to today has been pretty astronomical. But I know that the hardships you faced and ultimately, gaining perspective for your own personal journey. So when we talk about that passion, look, we can love something and in COVID like to play tennis, but something switched for you. And when do you think you really realized that tennis switched from sort of a passion to your purpose?
That's a good question. I think the moment that tennis switched from a passion to purpose was 2021 when I had won Easter Bowl and then I had won Orange Bowl that same year. So that was a big year for me in the juniors. And I was like, I think that I can keep rolling with this momentum. And I think there's just so much for me to improve. And that's when I really kind of fell in love with playing and just all the different elements and how much you need to kind of discover about yourself throughout playing. And then I made the switch to online schooling and just trying to do what I can to support a tennis and academic-based schedule, not just academic-based, so that I could just pursue that purpose.
Yeah. With ICL, what did you first find intriguing, or what kind of inspired you to choose ICL?
What first inspired me to choose ICL was just the community presence and the connection that I felt. I would be completely unrelated to ICL at this point, and I would see you guys, the teachers, the counselors, everyone at tournaments just saying hi to all these people, knowing the results, actually caring about the tennis and not just, you didn't do your homework. So it just kind of felt like this community that was supporting you, not just academically, but in all aspects of your personal development. So that just seemed like the balance that I was looking to strike.
That's great. I mean, so much, and we'll kind of get back in the ICL, but to cover our P's, I mean, the next P was the most important. So process, right? You found a purpose, and then it just becomes the process. And what I've seen in you that I think most would agree, your mindset is, I think, your biggest weapon. I mean, not only do you have a growth mindset in how you approach, which is something that we try to teach, but it's that perseverance, the mindset. But how did you find that right process to take you, where it went from tennis is fun, I'm winning, I like to win, to all right, now I'm winning international, and now this pro thing could be on the horizon?
That's a great question. I think the mindset and the process that I found was just the concept of getting better every day. I knew that I had so much to work on and to kind of just make up for those years that I initially hadn't found the purpose and hadn't been fully focusing on tennis. So I had some ground to make up with just my fundamentals. But I think as long as you're focusing on just getting a little bit better every day and doing these little things, it'll add up in the course of 6 months, a year, and obviously the right people around you to guide you in the tennis court with your academics, just to keep you grounded as a person as well.
That's great. And how do you feel? I mean, obviously with ICL, knowing that your peers are there, but how does it feel knowing that superstars like Novak Djokovic or a Monica Seles or a Tommy are in your corner, are coming in and talking to students and particularly sharing their journeys, answering their questions? How did that make you feel that the school you went to provided that mentorship?
I mean, everything that ICL provides in the history with the students and everything is pretty incredible. I think it gives it that sense of credibility and like they've done it. So, so can I. And they're just kind of there supporting you. It feels incredible to have people of that caliber that believe in you and really want to see you succeed.
That's great. And I guess growing up, since you took up tennis late, did you have any icons? Like who are your favorite players? Who did you look up to? Who did you want to emulate?
I always loved Djokovic. He was definitely an idol for me, and just the mentality that he has with how much he progressed during his career. I mean, when he was a younger player on tour, he had a lot of holes and he was just developing his game every year. So I think that that's pretty incredible, the mentality that he had. And then on the women's side, obviously the Williams sisters were an icon for American tennis. I loved Belinda Bencic as well. I love watching Halep those years back. Now I love watching Sinner. He's so smooth on the court. But yeah, I think it's always great to have those people to look up to. And then also just
That's so great.
as the game.
You, you represent so much of what Novak, having myself met and become friends with Novak at age, he was 17 or 18 when I met him, and that growth. But we've actually, he's asked about you, we've talked about you actually at Indian Wells, and, the mindset again, like, how did you find, I mean, what was most inspiring to me about you was seeing you play, and you shared with me that, when you win a match or lose a match, you go right out back on the back courts and you hit, and you want to work out kinks in your game or something. Can you talk a little bit about that? That to me is a superpower that most people don't have. And how did that start? And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that drive and that hunger. I mean, I take I mean, not so seriously, but it makes me feel so alive when I compete, and I love to do it. So every time I get on the court, I leave it all out there, but I'm always just looking for, okay, if I lost this match, like there's a reason, there's always that one thing that could have been better. And what better time to start working on it than right when you finish? But no, my coaches at USTA, Tom Gutteridge, who I've been working with, they're so good at just keeping me focused on the process. And I think that's what the process is. Like, win or lose, like you get right back out there. There's something to work on. And if you're not doing it, someone else is. So yeah, you got to put in that work.
I mean, that's so huge. And I mean, kind of flip-flopping between, because you're still in high school, you're still a student. I love your family so much. Your parents are amazing, because even when I watch you win, they're like, she's still going to college, like, Kirk, is she falling behind, how's she doing in school? Like they're so supportive and they're there really for the process. I mean, I think they understand that, the end result is you're fulfilling your dreams and you're going to work as hard as you can. But, to them, education is always important. So, you know, how was that ingrained in you and finding ICL? Like, how did that tie in? How did you make the time? What was the inspiration from your parents to focus that, I could be going pro, I'm breaking through, but education is still really important?
Yeah, my parents definitely instilled that academic drive and I think just drive in general and me with example. I mean, they immigrated to this country, didn't have too much and everything was just so new to them and they got right to work. I mean, within 7 days of being in this country, they found a job. They had to take all their pharmacy tests again. So they just worked really hard and it just showed me what you needed to do in order to be successful. And they never limited me. Obviously you need to work hard and that's a must, but you need to find what you're passionate about. And although professional sports is not unconventional, but it's not what the majority pursue, they were always supportive and knew that if this is what you really want to do, then that's what you got to try and do. As long as you give it your all, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
I love that. And I think, at ICL, we talk about the whole person. We talk about the importance of character and how you hold yourself. And, you've been in such high regard with your peers, with coaches. Some of our champion mentors are just so impressed with you. Now you have a chance. People are looking at you, right? I joke that we were in the same place 364 days earlier, after you finished your match with Paolini, which you just played your heart out. And I was so just there inspired, thinking back that 1 year ago we were on the back courts, you were getting ready to play like a match in the juniors that no one knew about. And how are lessons, we try to infuse is to not separate those on court and sort of in school and on the court as two different things. Do you see it seems like your mindset, the way you approach things, whether it's your academics, whether it's how you carry yourself as a person and on the court, it's all kind of blended into one. So do you feel it's important to have that overall education? And how do you feel ICL helped provide that?
Yeah, I think that overall education and just character development as a whole is huge for anything that you want to pursue, but tennis as well. I mean, I think that all my studies and everything has helped me a lot with problem solving, critical thinking. I mean, every time you're taking a test, you're pretty much forced to think under pressure, sometimes under time constraints. So I think all of that translates in its own ways. And it also gives me a little bit, not a safety net, but it gives me that comfort because I know that I'm a well-rounded individual and no matter what happens with my sports, obviously I want to succeed and I want to be the best in the world, but for whatever happens, I'm a well-rounded person. I can pick up a different career. I can do whatever I want and I'll have a good life and have success.
So great, that growth mindset. I think on that note, I mean, so many of the champions and people we talk to are, look back after college or, they're looking back at their life. You're still in it. Being in it right now, what do you think is either missing in schools that you think would be great to be taught? Is there a course that you enjoy that you haven't had before or something that you wish was taught? I mean, ICL is obviously very different because we have performance psychology, the business of sport, but that blend between real world and just the academic world.
Yeah, I think that ICL has got a great blend of teaching you the things that you need to know from an academic standpoint, but also making it a little bit more realistic as the things that, I mean, out of high school, you're an adult and you need to know some things to provide you for yourself and just be ready to tackle the world. So I love the classes that ICL offers that are a little more specific and just teach you about things that you're going to need to do on a daily basis, not just the formulas and the stuff in the lab, the real stuff with your mind, with business, all these things that some people in public schools don't get exposed to until college.
So true. And I think, so many of our champions like Monica Seles, who started out, said, there are a lot of things I wish I had learned, before winning Grand Slams or during, how this business of sport works, right? How the tournaments, how do they fund themselves? So, the same way that you attack a pharmacist or everything is entrepreneurial, even your journey as an athlete, it still has that entrepreneurial spirit, right? I mean, you go from Indian Wells and you said, Kirk, I'm about to go to Columbia. Share with some of the players just what your schedule is like and maybe how something like ICL helps you to travel and do what you're doing. Just maybe the next, where you've been and in the last, even if you just rattle it off, like the last 3 years with ICL, where you've been.
Oh, Kirk, I've lost count for all the places that I've
Your
been over
passport is full, huh?
My passport is absolutely full. I've been to, I think four different continents, and I don't even know how many countries, but it's just the constant travel. I mean, at this point, I'm not spending too much time in one place. And the nice thing about ICL is obviously the flexibility with the virtual work and all that, but still having that personal and community feel with the seminars and the peers. I mean, I'll look at the discussions and I'll see 5 or 6 friends of mine right off the bat. I'm like, oh, let me respond to their post. But yeah, it just gives it that I'm in school and I have friends and peers involved in the same thing feel, not just an online school that you feel a bit isolated from everything. So the flexibility plus trying to keep that normality of a fully physical school.
It's surreal. Your life is a little surreal right now. Any favorite memories last year? I mean, we obviously winning rounds at my hometown in New York is kind of insane. Down under in Australia. I mean, what have been some highlights for you just in the last year?
Oh, yes. In the last year, I think US Open was definitely huge. It was, I think, my first WTA main draw event, if I'm not mistaken.
When you won,
So I
really won, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I just had no expectations going into that, so it was pretty cool to see that I was right there. And then Wimbledon was really special. We won doubles and got to go to the Champions Gala. That was just one of those moments that you're going to cherish on and off the court with just the experience that you had. And then Indian Wells was really special, not just because it's a great win that I had or a great run, just because of all the people that were there. It was a hometown tournament, and I just
You had a lot of your classmates there. I think I counted about 15 ICL students all cheering for you. So very cool.
yeah, I got texts from a lot of peers about just congratulating me and wishing me the best in the next round. So it was just that was a really homey tournament. It just warmed my heart.
That's so cool. Well, now, I mean, well, I will speak for you as well. I think that Rancho Santa Fe Open, you got your biggest fan in my son after that one. You've inspired him on the court, so I owe you. And speaking of that inspiration, I mean, now you're really a model to these younger kids, and I think a lot of that is not just your results, but it is your mindset. So, are there anything in your journey that you would recommend? Like, I'm sitting here talking to you and there are 100+ ICL students playing in the Easter Bowl, as you mentioned. I think we met there the year you won it. So anything just that you picked up that really like those lessons as things that you recount to yourself?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons, but for the younger generation, I would say that just don't stress too much about your results right now or how many games you lost in this match or whatever. I think working for the future and looking at the bigger picture, seeing what is my game going to be like in 5 years and 10 years, and just keeping that open mind of working for the future and not necessarily being so caught up in the moment and having to win this match, having to win this match. It's just about, working for the final product. Hopefully in 5 years, you're developed to win not this match, but many more and bigger matches. So just making sure you're working for the future. And that also just takes a lot of stress off.
Totally. That's great. That's incredible advice. And obviously it hasn't been a hockey. I think the readers and people that read an article about you, they think, oh, Eva just burst on the scene. And look, your rise has been pretty fun to watch and astounding. But, there have been roadblocks. I've seen you, there have been injuries. Like, how do you deal with both the injuries and coupled with that, not just injuries, but a little bit now more of the pressure of being successful or having a little bit more spotlight on you?
I think that it's difficult when you're kind of going through all these new experiences and having those setbacks to keep your mentality the same. But what helps me is just thinking about taking it one day at a time and knowing that whatever happens, it's part of my journey. And sometimes you do need to take two steps back to take 10 steps forward. So just knowing that every setback or what may seem like a setback can actually help me in the long run. I mean, I've had losses where at the time I was so upset, and then 6 months later, I'm like, wow, that loss really motivated me to work on some things, and I'm so happy it happened. So just knowing that it all makes sense soon enough. So you just have to keep working and not get caught up with those little things.
I mean, that's again, incredibly great advice, for anyone because, most failing, you learn the most out of failure, right? We always know we learn from our losses and, kind of keeping on this idea of role model and women's like, is there a platform? I mean, ICL obviously was founded by Monica Seles and many others to instill a sense of leadership and community service to go beyond yourself. So we have purpose, and obviously we talk about wanting to be the best you can, and then we talk about super purpose. Or are there any platforms or issues or things that you can see that drive you on a global scale, or that's true to your heart? At ICL, obviously to graduate you have to do some kind of a community leadership project. Is there anything that you have sort of found yourself drawn towards?
Yeah, I've definitely been drawn towards, I'm just a people's person and I love everything that involves giving back. And I think that it's a little bit of a duty of ours as people, and especially if you're having success, if you're having the opportunity to impact more people, because a lot of people have the idea, but they just don't have the opportunity to be heard, and not a lot of people will listen. So once you develop your platform, I feel like it is a little bit of a duty to make a difference. And I definitely, with my background and what I'm in right now with sports, I think women in sports is something that I hope to improve a lot. And I think we've come a long way, especially in tennis with equality and all these things, but there's so much more to be grown. And I think that, yeah, just growing the sport and giving back to tennis and the community is huge for me.
It's great. And you exude it. It's sort of weird to ask the question, some people, but like you do it, I see you in matches and I think you light up, right? When you see younger kids and the ability to share the experience in the journey, because, have you felt any pressure, right? Like all of a sudden, like articles are being written about you, people are asking you for your autographs and taking pictures. And how do you kind of cope? I know we talk about it in our class in performance psychology at ICL, things like that, but how do you feel, it sort of hit you pretty quickly?
Yeah, I think it's definitely difficult when you're kind of in a different perspective or a different expectation at this point. But I just try to remember why I started and why I want to keep playing, and also think about where I am. I mean, 3 years ago, if someone told me that I'd be here, I'd take it in a heartbeat, you know? So just knowing that these are all problems that I really wanted to have, or they're not even problems, but these are things that I wanted to deal with, and you can just enjoy them because not a lot of people can say that. A lot of people ask for their autograph, or people were cheering their name on in a big stadium. I mean, those are all things that not a lot of people can say for themselves.
You gave me chills when the stadium was, cheering. I was one of them, but no, I think, you know, again, going back to sort of the actual school side of things and, what makes ICL different. I guess part of it is we're working with USTA, and a lot of families and parents don't, I remember talking about your mom and dad at length. Like, I mean, I got really super bonded with them, to make that leap. More and more people are coming around to the idea of sort of hybrid and virtual education and how we do things differently. Is there something that I guess if you would say why ICL, for you, why you would choose it again, what you like about it? Are there great teachers or the mentors, or what are the elements you really like about it?
I could talk for a long time about that, but I think the initial thing that really connected me to ICL was that first conversation that we had. Right when I said, you know what, I think I want to give this a try, we had a long call and we were like, what is your goal? what are you looking for? And that's my huge thing. Like, you can't kind of be going through things just, oh, this is great. Oh, let me do this. I love the purpose and just the plan that we set up. Even though it's always changing, you guys came up with a plan and a course schedule and everything that this is how it's going to be so that you can do this and this and meet your goal by the time that you graduate. It was all very structured, and we were doing everything with that end goal in mind. So we always had a direction, and yeah, we knew what we wanted to get out of it, which is really special. And I don't think a lot of public schools and physical programs or any other schools can say that about themselves. And then obviously the flexibility and the connection with so many of my peers through tennis. I mean, it's kind of all connected with ICL.
Yeah, no, it's exciting for me. I kind of feel like Peter Pan, living my dream. And I think how has it helped having teachers and administrators who are on your team that were all athletes, that were pros or in the Olympics, that how does that understanding, right? Because I believe that teachers are very important, and, having the support, it's like coaches. How has ICL been different than other schools in your mind, and like from the teacher side and the support side?
Yeah, ICL has been very different with the teacher and support side. The athletic background and just the willingness to stay in touch. I mean, I get emails from teachers when I win this match or do this really well. They all are following me as a person, not just looking at my grades. So they're all very excited for me, and they just want me to succeed in all aspects. So we kind of have that well-rounded connection that I think helps me trust them more and listen more, and just overall better communication, which I think is huge. If you want to learn the most and just maximize your time in a school, you need to communicate really well and just have a good understanding. And those connected backgrounds definitely help us be on the same wavelength.
It's so funny. You talk about communication skills. I'm so impressed with where you're at, with how you're communicating, how you're holding yourself. It's really fun to be part of the journey, and, to be there with so many of your peers. I know you're battling with Claire V all the time, and Akasha, and it's so cool to have this band, but, you also have these other athletes, right? You have Olympians in other sports, and you hear from Steve Nash or Vincent Zoe, like gold medalists in skating. Do you find that, having access to other sports as well, like being in a peer community, is sort of helpful and inspiring?
Yeah, I think it's pretty incredible because there's just so much to learn from all these people who have done great things in their given field, and they all have something unique to say that you can take so much away from. I mean, some of the big moments that have motivated me throughout my career and life have been just hearing from people who've done it or who are doing it in whatever their field is. I think greatness is greatness in no matter what realm you're in. So just to have that extra bit of inspiration, and you are who you surround yourself with. So to be surrounded with all these incredibly successful and great people is just where you want to be.
I love that. I mean, to round things off, and thank you. I'm glad you got a break from your training to help us out. The big thing is the ICL Foundation, started with incredible board members, and the objective is to utilize kids' passions to support them. And as you know, tennis is super expensive sport. In fact, all sports these days are. So having the ability to raise funds to support that, a big initiative we're following up on is really trying to raise money for the development of mixing education. Everyone wants to support the next Sinner or Eva Jovic, but, kids, like families, need that support. So the ICL Foundation is a big point. I think maybe if you could talk a little bit about the importance and sort of the importance of the generosity and thankfulness of people that go out of their way to support, people like you, and then your, others and your peers from the foundation, maybe just a thank you, and what it means to have them having your back financially and supportive.
Yeah, I mean, a huge thank you to the ICL Foundation for myself, but everyone else who is benefiting and who has their support, because it's not easy. I mean, especially in tennis, because it's such an expensive sport, but just in general, a lot of times to have the resources and opportunities to really reach your max potential and just flourish, you need a little help. And sometimes the results aren't always there. So you need people who are willing to give and invest in you, invest in your future, invest in your happiness is so big. And I think it just makes the kids feel supported and like, hey, I can do this. There are people who believe in me. And no matter where I come from or whatever my financial situation is, I can do these great things.
It's huge. And I think everyone's really, really proud of that because it doesn't matter, it's like winning slams, but I know your parents well now, like just getting a college scholarship is huge, right? I mean, it's, the sort of goal and every little bit counts. So some people think, oh, if you don't reach the top, but the last question would be, all right, fast forward, your playing career is done. You won a lot of slams and someone wants to write an article about who is, and I'm going to go so far in the future of what do you want on your tombstone, but what do you want the headline of, who is Eva as a tennis player and who is Eva as a humanitarian in 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I would love everything you just said. Let's let it happen to that from your words to the universe. But yes, I mean, I think from my just tennis career and hopefully other things that I'll accomplish outside the sport is just that ordinary people or all of us, we can all do extraordinary things and we can all have this extraordinary success as long as we work hard enough to do it. I don't consider myself insanely athletically gifted or anything just extraordinary that we all can't do. I think it's just that hard work and that mindset and just willing to push yourself into situations that most people won't. But I hope that I can show kids that you don't have to have this crazy thing or you don't have to, you know, discover tennis at 4 years old and have this awakening moment. You can do it in your own path and you are good enough just as you are to do these things.
Firing words. Are you getting this? I guess, how do you get this inspiration? I mean, these are things that are following you. I mean, you're really cutting it deep and I think your understanding of it. So what do you think your greatest asset is? I mean, the mental side, I think is huge, but you said you may not be the most talented. You're not as big as some of the other girls. What do you kind of see as strengths and things you're working on?
I think that my biggest strength is just being open-minded and being willing to work on anything and everything. I mean, for the first like 12 years of my life, it was pretty much my dad coaching me, and he doesn't necessarily have some professional certificate or anything like that, but I would really listen, and everything that anyone told me, I would really absorb the information and then do something about it. I think just that growth mindset and being willing to change things and to try and improve in those ways is the hardest part because stubbornness and just, oh no, I want to keep it the way it is sometimes I think what stops people. So I think, yeah, just really soaking in everything that you can get, especially when you're surrounded by a lot of great people. You can learn so much from what's around you. So just being introspective like that.
I love hanging out with you because it's so fun. I never get to interview actual students like this. This is usually how we talk to a 9-time Grand Slam champion or what have you. So, getting back to trying to have you make it for your prom, I think, my, my objective is, I mean, are you finding time to be a kid? When we talk to a lot of our mentors, particularly Monica Seles, who's, wins a slam at 14 and kind of feels like she missed out on that. How are you balancing that? I mean, because you're just a really fun, great girl.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely difficult to find a balance with being an athlete that's now, I guess, a professional athlete, but also being.
Is it official? I haven't heard from your parents yet. I keep being told, yeah, they're still like, I'm like, come on.
I don't know. I don't know what makes it official, but yeah, I would consider myself I'm playing pretty much all professional tournaments now, so I would consider myself a professional at this point. But I think just staying grounded and remembering who you are as an individual and knowing that whatever happens on the court, it doesn't define you and who you are. just as a person. So making sure that you find the time to have those moments and have that little social fun aspect is really important. And there's enough time in the day. You just need to make it a priority.
But you're always smiling. It seems like you're having fun. I mean, it's great to see you with friends, with your beast on the court, your competitive nature, but I love that. And I think that's a really important way to be. And so, sometimes that pressure of balancing being normal, you're a pro athlete now, but you're also still a high school student. And so I guess to bring us home, hopefully you get a little time off and, want to wrap it up. I love talking to you. Anything you want to say to your teachers, any classes that you're appreciative of or you like, whatever I kind of give you the final word here.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Kirk. First of all, thank you to everyone at ICL, all my teachers. You know who you are. You all have helped me a lot to find that balance between being an athlete and being a student and being a kid and just being everything that I am. So thank you for just supporting all aspects of my development. And I would say special thank you to my English class who has forced me to write a lot, which I don't initially love, but now I feel a lot richer and just more well spoken. So I really appreciate that.
I will second that. You are incredibly well spoken, but it's been a joy to get to know you. We kind of, as you feel, ICL is like a family. I consider your family, part of our family forever. You have a lot of people backing you, and can't wait to see you at the next tournaments. And just thank you for always being there. So good luck on the next round. Hope you get a little break, but good luck with your travels, and I'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you so much, Kirk.
All right. Take care. Best to your parents and your whole family.